Good morning, all of you. So, first of all, I want to say one thing. So, this is not a new subject. This is extension for the software engineering because the subject is completely related with the two subjects, that is software architecture and design patterns. Okay, and the subject is completely related with the software engineering. So, this is not a new subject. So, in the case of software engineering, we also know about that. That is hello. Okay, thank you. Okay, in the case of software engineering, just we are developing the software and how to develop the software and what are the types of phases to developing the software. We also know about the what is the functionality of the software. So when we are facing some problem in the real-time situation, that can be solving through developing some software by the developer. That is the main intention of software engineering. And the another intention of software engineering is to satisfying the customer requirements. So that means even though programmers, even though stakeholders are end users not having the programming knowledge, they are easy and comfort with the developing software. That is the main intention of software engineering. Okay. In the case of software architecture and design pattern, also the same thing. Here, the main intention of this subject is how we are developing the software and which type of architecture is suitable to the end of the users. So, which type of patterns are available? So, which type of designs are better and which type of architecture is better to developing the software? That is the main concept of this subject. Okay, so let us discussing with the course outcomes. We also know about what is a course outcome. So after the completion of this course, you can able to following things. So that means, so the first one is student can able to understand the software patterns and structures and views. Okay, just I'm repeating the same thing. Course outcomes. Student can able to understand software architectural patterns and structures and views. That is the first course outcome. So that means after this completion of this course, you can understand what is a software architectural pattern. So here we are consider different types of patterns. So which type of pattern is suitable to developing the software, and in some type of situations we are consider the some categorized patterns also. Okay, so those are maybe we are discussed further. So next thing is next course outcome, student can able to analyze that designing the software and architecture evaluation. So that means after developing the software, so we need to evaluate whether it is suitable to the customer requirements or not. So whether it is efficiently working in the developed organization or not. So whether it is able to solving the particular problems or not. So that is the second course outcome, and third outcome is student can able to understand design patterns and their underlying the object oriented concepts. Okay, and the fourth course outcome is student can implement the design patterns, able to get the solution for real world software design problems. So that means after the completion of this course, you can able to developing the software in a efficient type of architecture. Okay, and another thing, hello. 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 Sorry for the disturbance. Accepting some members. They are okay. I think are you able to see the screen now? Hello. Hello. Okay. Up to now, just we are discussing about course outcomes. So after the completion of this course, every student can able to understand so how to design the software architecture pattern and whether it is a efficient or not. And another thing is he is able to understand the design and he is able to solving the problems in the real world situation to developing the software. Okay, so coming to the software architecture design patterns. So this is completely deals with the use of design patterns for its development. So in this subject mainly focus on how to design the software, which type of architecture is suitable and efficient in front of the stakeholders. Okay. Um, Design patterns are used in object-oriented technology like objects, class, interface, inheritance, and hierarchy. So that means we also know about this when we are designing some software, definitely involves some phases. So those are nothing but analysis, design, coding, testing, maintenance, like this. So at this time of situation, we need to represent in the graphical way, and we try to maintain the some relationships between the design. So those are completely related with the object oriented concepts like class, interfaces, inherences, and hierarchies. Okay. Now here in the previously I mentioned, so what we are learn in this course. So mainly based upon to the five units. So sixth unit is the case study. In the first unit, just we are learn about what is a software architecture and what is a architecture business cycle and what is a pattern. Okay, and another thing is what are the views. So like this, and what are the quality attributes. So in this is the first unit. In the case of second unit, just we try to analyze the architectures. So how to we are evaluate the architecture whether it is correct or not. So these are we are studied into the second unit. In the case of third unit, completely related to the patterns. So patterns here we are considering into the three types. So those are uh, three types. So those are creational patterns, structural patterns, behavioral patterns. I think you are able to see in the screen. Okay. So in the case of creational patterns include abstract, builder, factory method, prototype. So in the case of structural patterns, we are consider the adapter, bridge, composite, decorator, FCAD, flyweight, and proxy patterns. Behavioral patterns include chain of responsibility, command interpreter, iterator, state, strategy, template method. So that means in the case of creational patterns, so mainly we are specifying the abstract. So in the case of software architecture development, in the case of software software architecture and design patterns, here we are consider the different types of patterns. So when we are developing some software, definitely we are consider some architecture and some pattern also. Okay. So here we are consider three types of patterns here. So those are creational patterns, structural patterns, behavioral patterns. In the case of creational patterns, mainly consider abstract. So that means we also know about what is a abstract. So without knowing about background details, without knowing about background details, we can easily understand what is the exact concept. Okay, that is the main concept of abstract. And builder, factory method, prototype. So we also know about the prototype. So before developing the actual project, we try to develop some small project. If it is satisfying the requirements of the user, then we try to develop the actual project, that is the prototype. So that means in the case of creational pattern, just we are consider what we are developing here, what is the main intention, so what are the facilities. So those are considered into the creational patterns. Okay, in the case of structural pattern. Hello. Hello, am I clear? Okay, up to now what we are discussing is just what are the course outcomes, and what is a software architecture and design patterns. And here we are consider three types of patterns here. So though actually these three are the three units. So those are third unit, fourth unit, fifth unit, and the sixth unit is the case study. Okay. In the case of creational pattern, including the abstract build, builder, factory method, prototype. So that is already we are discussing now. Now we are discussing about the structural pattern. So including the adapter, bridge, composite, decorate, FCAD, flyweight, and proxy patterns. Okay. In the case of structural patterns, mainly focus on the uh, some how to implementing the developing software. Okay, so how to implement the software, so that means, so which type of interfaces is needed for to easily uh, uh, interact with the users, how to reducing the complexity. So those are related with the structural patterns. So for example, maybe if we are consider the adapter, so transferring the programming interface from one class into the another class. Okay, in the case of bridge, it will be implementing the software. Composite means developing the composite software. So like for example, maybe tree structure, hierarchical structure, like that. So if it is a decorator, so decorator is used for extending the functionalities. So which type of things are needed in the developing software, so those are included by using the structural pattern. And another one is the uh, facade is used for reducing the complexity by providing the interfaces. Okay, and flyweight is used for sharing the support to design in the efficient type of way. And the last one is the proxy pattern. So here we are build small models. If it is success, then we try to develop the larger models. Okay, so in the case of behavioral patterns, I think the name is implies because we are studied into the object oriented analysis design. Okay, so in this command interpreter, iterator, state, strategy, template, and method. So all these are here we are considered. So that means in the case of software architecture design pattern, mainly we are consider how to design the software, and how to design the efficient architecture, and which type of patterns are available to developing the software, and which pattern is easily interacting with the software. So that means reducing the complexity, that is the main intention of this subject. So we are already observe in the real time applications. For example, maybe if you are going to the IRCTC or airline reservation or bus reservation, or some real time applications like DMART, more some other some organizations. So even though those type of users not having the programming knowledge, they are easily interacting with the software and easily operating, and they get the functionalities whatever it may be they are required from that particular software. So that means here the main opinion of the developer is whether it is interacting the easily interacting with the end user or not. So here the end user also we are referred as a stakeholder also. Okay. Here we are discussing up to now three types of patterns: creational patterns, structural patterns, behavioral patterns. In the case of creational patterns, mainly consider how to create the particular pattern. So the, for example, what is the abstract, what is the need. Okay. And in the case of structural pattern, so how to implementing that particular software. And behavioral pattern, so what is the what we are after the completion of this software, so what is the status. Okay. Now we are going to the first topic of this subject, so that is the architecture business cycle. Okay. Here architecture business cycle is also referred as ABC. Just a minute please. Hello. This is the first topic of this subject, that is architecture business cycle. So architecture business cycle depicts the relationship between architecture of a system and environment which it is developed. I think the name is implies. So when we are developing some software in the particular organization, so then whatever it may be, we are implementing the steps from starting to the ending. So that complete process is referred as a cycle. Okay, so that will be referred as a architecture business cycle. Why we are referred as a cycle means, so we also know about how to we are developing the software and which type of phases are we are following to develop the software. So that means analysis, design, coding, testing, and the main step is implementation and testing also. So that means after deliver the software also, we try to interact with the customer. So whether he is able to easily comfort with the software, easily moving the software, easily process the software or not. Okay. uh, just a minute. Mm, if you don't mind my Reverend, one thing, you try to join within the time for the class, then there is no problem. Okay. Hello. So architecture business cycle. So architecture business cycle is completely relationship with the architecture of a system and environment which it is developed. So the architecture of software result of many businesses, technical and social influences. The cycle of these influences starting from the environment of architecture implementation to the developed architecture and back to the environment is referred as a architecture business cycle. So that means whatever it may be, we are done to developing the software from the starting point to the ending point, and again we try to performing the reverse engineering. All these steps are completely referred as a architecture business cycle. But in the case of architecture business cycle, maybe occurring some influences, or maybe based upon some factors, or maybe giving some problems to the some persons, or some factors. So those are here we are consider the four types of factors to influencing the architecture. So we are already discussing what is the software, what is the software architecture, and design patterns. So again, I try to repeat what is the software and what is the software architecture and design pattern. So we also know about what is a software. Software is nothing but some set of programs. Those are used for to solving the real-time situation of the problem and try to easier the user problem. So which is performing the user manually, that we can try to easily solving the problem through developing some software. That is the main intention of software engineering or software. Okay. And the next one is software architecture. So how it will be look like. So when the user interacting with that particular developer software, then whether he is easily moving with the developer software or not, that is the main thing. So for example, maybe if how to for example, how to join, for example, if we are consider the Zoom app, for example. So we are easily interacting with the software because the software is solving some problems. So even though members are in different locations, it will be giving the chance to meet all the people at the same location. So even though they are not able to interacting directly, so some he that is the main intention. So how it will be look like, and what is the architecture, so how it will be interacting with the users. So the completely referred as software architecture and design patterns. Okay, so when we are based upon to the some developing the software, that then we are based upon to the architecture business cycle. So architecture business cycle is nothing but relationship with the architecture of a system and environment which it is developed. So that means what we are developing the software and where we are developing. So when we are developing some software, definitely influence some factors. So those are, first one is the system stakeholders, second one is the developing organization, and third one is the experiencing of the architects, and fourth one is the technical environment. Please give me some, yeah. Okay. So these four factors are influencing the architecture: system stakeholders, developing the organization, experience of the architects, and technical environment. Why? Because so here system stakeholders means we can consider end users, our project managers, our marketing managers, our maintenance department, our customers, whatever it may be. So who is really interacting with the software? So those are completely we are referred as a system stakeholders. Okay, this is the terminology of this subject. And another one is the developing organization. So which organization is developing that software, that is also influenced by the developed software. And another thing is the experience of the architects. For example, maybe after developing the software, maybe occurring some problems, maybe some users not easily interacting with the software, or maybe try to provide some modifications on the existing software. So then architects experience is try to modifying the some settings. Okay, the that is related with the experience of the architects. And last one is the technical environment. Maybe we are using different types of technologies and how it will be interacting with the some other softwares. So that is completely technical environment. If you are observing this diagram, this is the architecture business cycle. Okay, architecture influence stakeholders, first one, second one developing organization. Okay, and third one is technical environment, and the fourth one is architect experience. If you are observed clearly, so when we are developing some software, that will be influence these four factors. Next, again, it will be forming a architecture. So that means this is a complete process. So which type of steps are needed to developing the software from the starting stage to ending stage. Again, we try to correcting from ending stage to the starting stage. This completely referred as a architecture business cycle. Okay. Now we are discussing which type of things are considered in the case of system stakeholders. So they are consider some properties. So that means whatever it may be, the customer or end user or marketing person or maintenance department, they are expecting something from the developer software. So those are maybe the, so like performance, how it will be performed. So how much of efficient performance, so how much of we try to show believeness on the developer software. So in this at the same time, reliability, availability, platform compatibility. Some type of situations, some softwares not able to, we are uh, we are stored or maybe the installed into the particular device, that is maybe the not having the chance in each and every time of the situation. Maybe some softwares are not suitable to install in some particular hardware or maybe the some devices. So that is the platform compatibility. And memory utilization is also the more important thing, because before Using that particular developed software, users first verify how much of memory is occupied. Okay, and network uses, how much how much of network is used for to the software, or maybe whether it is easily comfort to processing the software or not. And security, this is also the most important. And another one is the modifiability. So after developing the software, maybe it will be giving the chance some modifications. So whether it is giving to chance to performing the any modifications or not. So, and another thing is the usability, interoperability with the other systems. So these are the, in the case of system stakeholders, consider these type of properties. So that means all these are the all these are the important all these are the important factors, or maybe the properties verified by to the customers. So for example, maybe we are the customer, then we try to definitely verifying all these things, how it will be performed, and how much of we try to maintain the reliability, availability, how much of memory is occupied, or what is the network situation, what is the security. Mainly nowadays, so many softwares are developed by the developers, but most of the softwares not providing the security. So if the user is using the particular software, maybe he will be losing his valuable data, like maybe the photos, or maybe documents, or what are maybe the files. So some nowadays, some type of intruders easily accessing the users data, unauthorized users accessing the data. That is the one of the problems. So when we are developing the software, definitely we will be consider this issue. Okay. So that means in the case of architecture business cycle, when we are developing some software, definitely these factors influencing the architecture. The first one is the system stakeholders. I'm already mentioned. So our system stakeholders means either users, end users, marketing persons, or maybe the project manager, or maintenance department, or customer, whatever it may be. So who is really interacting with the software? That person is completely referred as system stakeholder. And second one is the developing organization. So an architecture is influenced by the structure or nature of the development organization. Okay, nature of the development organization. So here we are consider three types of the organizations here. So those are immediate business organization, long term business organization, and another one is the organization structure. So in the case of immediate business investment, means that is the existing architecture. So when we are developing some software, that will be also influenced to the some particular organization also. So which is directly related with the particular developing software. So that means we try to performing some changes. Okay. And another thing is the background or experience of the architects. So here uh, architect experience is like this. Maybe, so maybe you try to in you try to insert some new functionalities, or maybe removing some unnecessary things. So like this. So after developing the software also, developer, or maybe the uh, technical architect should be interacting with the end user. So whether it is completely satisfying his requirements or not. So at this time of situation, maybe the chance to performing the modifications. And the last one is the technical environment. Now we are discussing with the software process. Okay, up to now, just I'm discussing only one topic, that is architecture business cycle. So that means when we are developing one software from starting stage to the ending stage, again we try to performing the modifications from ending stage to the starting stage. This process is completely referred as a architecture business cycle. So when we are based upon the architecture business cycle, that will be influencing the some factors. Those are the stakeholders, and another one is the organization and architect experience, and the last one is technical environment. So maybe in some type of situations, it will be giving the influence onto the technical environment also. Maybe in some type of situations, the results will be good or maybe the bad. If it is good, then there is no problem. If it is bad, then try to again performing the modifications until achieving the user requirements, until achieving the solving the problems efficiently. Okay, so next one is the software process. So we also know about this. So in the case of software engineering, the same thing will be we are discussed into the five types of phases. So those are requirement analysis, design, coding, testing, and maintenance. Here also we are consider the same thing, software process, how it will be process the software, or how it will be we are developing the software. Software process refers to the methodology. Please give me 1 minute. Okay. In the case of software process refers to the methodology are developing a software architecture. How we are developing the software architecture. So the first one is developing the business case, identifying the requirements. Third one, developing the or selecting the architecture, analyzing the architecture, implementing the architecture, ensuring conformance to the architecture. I think we are also familiar with these steps. So if you are observed clearly, developing the business case. In the case of developing the business case, is developed by the system architect and developer. So these both of the persons having their own ideas, and they are able to find some solutions. So the related to the particular software. So all these are included into the developing in the business case. So that means like maybe the production cost, time for marketing, targeted market. So those type of issues are considered into the developing the business case. So that means why we need to develop the software, how to develop the software, and how much of time is needed, how much of cost is need to effort, and how much of man maybe the how many number of persons are needed to developing the required software. So all these are considered into the developing business case. So second one is the identifying requirements. This is completely related with the requirement analysis. Before developing any type of the software, so we need to collect some particular requirements. So those requirements are initially we are gathering into the first step. So for example, maybe this is also same like as a house construction. So before starting the house construction work, we try to collect some which are needed for to construction of the house. So like maybe the raw materials, like maybe the iron, sand, cement, like that. So in the same way, so when we are developing some software, so uh, we try to identify which type of things are necessary. For example, maybe if you are developing some website, or maybe the some developing some software for the some particular, for example maybe the reliance, like that shops or marketings. So we need to collect which type of things are necessary to developing the particular software. For example, maybe if it is the same case, then we try to identify which type of products are maintained in the reliance, and what are the costs, how many number of products are available, okay, and dealers, like this. So here, before developing the software, we try to identify the requirements. And third one is developing or selecting architecture. So suitable which type of architecture is suitable for the end users. So here architecture can be selected or developed from the conceptual integrity. Okay, so definitely it will be maintain some integrity. So we also know about what is the integrity. Okay, that is already we are studied into the database management system. Okay, a well-defined system design can be developed by many different conceptual ideas coming from different architects who bring upon the various behavioral and quality requirements. Okay, and next step is documenting the architecture. So this is the most important phase when we are developing the software, because so after developing the software, the documentation is available with the user, so like a manual. So how we are using this software, and how we are developing the software. So definitely it will be providing the unambiguity in front of the end users, because they are not having any type of the programming knowledge. We try to develop more number of interfaces to reducing the complexity to solving the problem of the end user. So the architecture must be documented clear and unambiguous and should be in the readable manner. Okay, so that is the main intention of documenting the architecture. Next one is the analyzing. Next one is the analyzing the architecture. So whether it is suitable to the satisfying the requirements of the stake users. Okay, system stake users, and or maybe the end users, or maybe the customers. Okay, next one is the implementing the architecture, and last one is again we try to performing the checking whether it is satisfying the requirements of user or not. So this is completely related with the software development life cycle. So that means analysis phase, design phase, coding phase, testing phase. But in the case of software architecture design pattern, here we are consider these 7 phases. So the first one is developing the business case. So why we are developing, when we are developing, how much of amount is needed, how much of man work is needed, how much of labor is needed, okay, how much of effort is needed. So how do we are perform, how do we are done the market like this, identifying the requirements before developing any type of the software. We try to identify this. And another one is the developing or selecting architecture. So this is the definitely different from one software to the another software. If you are observing more number of softwares, so though any one of the software is not able to match with the another software, so that means they are different. So here we are selecting which type of architecture is suitable to interacting with the user. Okay, and another one is the documenting the architecture, analyzing the architecture, implementing the architecture, and last one is the ensuring conformance to the architecture. Okay, so today we are discussing about first of all what is a software engineering, and another thing is software architecture design patterns. Okay, so after the completion of this course, definitely we will be able to design suitable architectures for the required users. And another thing, here we are able to analyze and evaluate whether it is able to satisfying the requirements of the end users or not. And we are able to implementing the design different types of the design patterns. Okay, today we are just discussing about 3 types of patterns. And another thing is architecture business cycle. Okay, in the case of architecture business cycle, definitely some factors influenced by the developed software. So those are system stakeholders, developing organization, architects, and technical environment. Okay, I think you are able to understand what I am today deliver to you. And you try to join every class within the time, so that is the best way. Okay, um, I will upload this video into the YouTube also. If you're having any type of the doubts, you can clarifying there. And another tomorrow we are discussing about what is the software architecture, and another thing is architectural patterns, and another thing is reference model and view. So this subject is completely related with the how we are developing the software, and which type of patterns are used for to developing the software, and which type of architecture is suitable to meet the requirements of the end user. So that is the main intention of this subject. Okay, uh, and this is completely related with the software engineering and object oriented concepts. So what is the relationship with object oriented concepts means? So when we are developing some software, definitely we are related with some concepts like maybe interfaces, or maybe the classes, or maybe objects. Okay, like this. At the same time, we try to represent the in the diagrammatical way. So those are also related with the object oriented concepts. And another thing, it will be whatever it may we are developing the software, it will be reducing the complexity in front of the users. Okay, so that is the main intention of this subject. Okay, tomorrow we will be join within the same time. Okay, today I'm observed so many members attending after 9:10 or 9:15. You try to join within the time. Okay, if you having any type of the doubts, please ask me separately. Okay, then I will try to giving the clarification, and I will give the material for whatever it may be. I'm today I'm delivered. Okay, uh, I think you are able to see the screen. So, but you try to remember one thing, those are course outcomes. So you try to I think you are easily remember these things, because these are completely related in the easy terms. So if you are observe here, so the first one is, first course outcome is student can able to understand the software architectural pattern, structures and views. So in the first unit also we are mentioned the same thing. So what is a software architecture? Okay, what is a architecture business cycle, and uh, what is a structural pattern, and architectural structures and views, different types of views. So that is the first course outcome. So that means we are easily understand what is a software architecture, and what is a pattern, architectural pattern, and what is a structure. And second thing is, student can able to analyze designing of a software and architecture evaluation. Okay, and so that means after developing the software, we are easily analyze whether it is exactly uh, satisfying the requirements of the user or not. And the third one is, student can able to understand design patterns and underlying the subject object oriented concepts. So previously I mentioned the same thing. So when we are developing some software, definitely it will be having some relationship with the another modules or objects. So those type of relations are, we can giving like as a maybe the uh, we are maybe giving like a some hierarchy, or maybe the we are giving some inheritance, or maybe we are maintaining some templates. Okay, or class, or some interfaces, like that. So on the last course outcome is, student can able to implement the design patterns. You try to remember these four course outcomes. Okay, tomorrow we are discussing and start the next topics of the first unit. So now, today I'm not delivering anything is uh, anything is not everything is new, everything is familiar with us, because whatever it may be today I'm discussing, so those are completely related with the software engineering. And another thing is the object oriented concepts, because in the case of software engineering also we are also discussing the same thing. But in this subject, mainly we are focus on to the how we are which type of architectures. Okay, so here architecture is also giving the some impact, or maybe some giving the factor. Okay, so that's why I'm saying like this. So this is not a new subject, and this is very easy subject. uh, Definitely it will be giving the good score if you are representing in a better way. Okay, thank you, Ananda.